Lewis Hamilton's most promising weekend with Ferrari ended in fury, all because of a single decision. 10 seconds. That's all it took for the FIA to destroy a masterclass. The moment he heard it, Hamilton's voice cut through the radio. "That's bulls, man. He hit me." But what came next wasn't anger, it was brilliance. Because when you corner Hamilton, he doesn't complain. He calculates. 5 red lights, then darkness, then ignition. The Ferrari SF25 launched off the line like it had something to prove. Hamilton's reaction time was flawless, pure muscle memory honed from decades of perfection. Norris darted left, Verstappen lunged right, and for an instant, 3 of the world's best were side by side, fighting for the same corner. Into turn 1, Verstappen braked too late, too deep. Contact. The Red Bull clipped Hamilton's front tire and forced him wide, bouncing across the tarmac runoff. Smoke, dust, silence, then the Ferrari straightened. He caught it, saved it, rejoined cleanly. No advantage, no drama. Just survival, executed with the control of a 7-time world champion. In the Ferrari garage, engineers barely exhaled. "Nice recovery, Lewis," came the voice from Riccardo Adami on the radio. "Car feels good," he replied calmly. No trace of anger, no spike of emotion. The telemetry showed balance. He was third on track, pace steady, managing tires perfectly. For a few laps, it looked like the breakthrough weekend Ferrari had been waiting for a car that finally obeyed its driver, and a driver who could finally stretch its potential. Then, as always in Formula One, the silence broke. The message came in cold and digital on the race control screen. Incident involving cars 1 and 44 under investigation. The Ferrari pit wall froze. Mechanics stared at the monitors. Fred Vasseur folded his arms, muttering under his breath. He'd seen this before, the kind of scrutiny that always seemed to find Hamilton. A few minutes later, the confirmation came. Car 44 10-second time penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. The room fell silent. "No way," said one engineer. He lifted off. Another just shook his head. 10 seconds for avoiding a crash. In the cockpit, Hamilton's voice cut through the static. "That's ridiculous. He hit me. I had nowhere to go." The tone was steady but full of disbelief, the voice of a man who's learned not to shout because the truth speaks louder. To him, it wasn't just about a penalty, it was about principle. He'd played fair, stayed in control, and still the system turned against him. But if there's one thing Hamilton knows better than anyone, it's that emotion doesn't win races. Control does. After a long pause, he spoke again. "All right, tell me what we need to do." The announcement came like a thunderclap. Car 44 10-second time penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. 10 words that sent shockwaves through the Ferrari garage. For a few seconds, no one moved. Monitors flickered. Radios went quiet. Engineers stared at the data, waiting for anything that could make sense of it. The telemetry told the truth. Hamilton had lifted through turn 4 after rejoining, losing nearly 2/10. There was no advantage, no violation of the rules, just a driver avoiding contact and surviving chaos. But in the sterile rooms of race control, that didn't seem to matter. Fred Vasseur's jaw tightened. "No, absolutely not," he muttered. He had nowhere to go. The race engineers started rewinding the onboard footage, freeze-framing the moment Verstappen's front wing clipped Hamilton's wheel. You could see the Ferrari being pushed wide, Hamilton saving it with pure reflex, and still, somehow, he was the one being punished. It wasn't the first time the FIA's decision had left Ferrari shaking its head, but this one felt different. This one felt personal. On the team radio, Riccardo Adami's voice came through carefully, almost apologetic. "Lewis, we got a 10-second penalty." There was a long pause, and then that unmistakable tone calm, sharp, cutting through the static. "That's ridiculous. He hit me. You saw it." The words hung in the air, half frustration, half fatigue. You could hear 22 seasons of experience in that sentence, the patience of a man who's seen the sport from every angle, who's learned that sometimes, even when you play fair, the game turns against you. But what defines Hamilton isn't what happens to him. It's how he responds. Within moments, the anger was gone, replaced by calculation. "All right," he said finally, "tell me what we need to do." The tone changed. The energy shifted. The man who'd just been penalized became the strategist. Ferrari's garage came back to life, voices low, focused. The penalty wasn't going away, but Hamilton had already started rewriting its meaning. From that moment, every lap was executed like a technical blueprint. Brake bias forward 2 clicks. Short shift out of turn 7 to manage rear grip. Lift earlier into turn 1 to keep brake temperatures in check. His telemetry looked like poetry, a perfect balance of aggression and control. Ferrari's performance engineers watched in awe. He's compensating for the car's weaknesses manually, one said quietly. No software can do what he's doing right now. The SF-25 was overheating, unpredictable, unstable, but in his hands, it looked composed. Meanwhile, the outside world erupted. Sky Sports commentators were stunned. "That's harsh," said Martin Brundle. "He didn't gain an advantage, he just stayed alive." Fans on social media were even blunter. "It's always the same story," one post read. "Different year, same treatment." Yet Hamilton never fed the outrage. He didn't argue on the radio or question the system. He simply drove. And in doing so, he made a point louder than any protest ever could. Inside the cockpit, the Ferrari was alive with noise, radio chatter, wind, vibration, but Hamilton's world was silent. He was locked into the rhythm only he could find. Every braking point, every throttle input, every flick of the steering wheel was a message. You can take the seconds, but you can't take the standard. As the penalty countdown began, Ferrari's pit wall prepared for the inevitable loss of time. But there was no sense of panic now, no despair. There was respect. Hamilton had turned frustration into flow. He was faster on the laps after the penalty than before it. "He's channeling it," Vasseur said softly, almost to himself. "He's using the anger to fuel precision." Mexico City's altitude doesn't forgive mistakes. It punishes engines, kills downforce, and turns every lap into a battle against physics. The Ferrari SF-25, blisteringly fast over 1 lap, was struggling to survive in the thin, dry air. Cooling ducts were gasping for oxygen, brake discs were glowing bright orange, and tire wear was climbing faster than the models predicted. Yet somehow, in that chaos, Lewis Hamilton was calm. You could hear it in his radio messages, not panic, not frustration, but quiet precision. Every word had weight. Every command had purpose. "Rear temps high," said Adami. "Copy," Hamilton replied. "Bias forward 2. Let's cool the rears." To watch him drive was to watch control made visible. Most drivers talk to their engineers and react to the numbers. Hamilton feels them before they appear. When the rear tires started to overheat through Sector 2, he was already adjusting his lift-end coast pattern. When the energy recovery system began overheating, he modulated throttle inputs mid-corner to help it breathe. He doesn't drive reactively, he drives proactively, predicting what the car needs before the sensors catch up. Ferrari's performance analysts stared at the live data in disbelief. "He's anticipating changes that haven't happened yet," one said. "He's driving a step ahead of the system." The SF-25 was unstable, its rear end twitching through the stadium section, its brakes teetering on the edge of collapse. But Hamilton never fought it. He adapted. He stopped pushing the car to behave like it should, and instead began driving it as it was. That's the secret to his brilliance. He listens to the car like a musician listens to tone, finding harmony in imperfection. "He's tuning the Ferrari as he drives it," said Brundle on commentary. "Every lap, a different rhythm, a different balance, and somehow, it all works." On lap 25, Ferrari called him in. Box, Lewis. Serve the penalty now." 2.3 seconds for the tire change, 10 for the injustice. 12.3 seconds of stillness that could have broken anyone else. But Hamilton just sat there, visor down, hands steady, the crowd's roar echoing in his helmet. 10 seconds. 9. 8. You could feel the world holding its breath. Then green light. The Ferrari leapt forward, and the comeback began. He rejoined in 14th place. Most drivers would have been deflated. Not Hamilton. "Let's get to work," he said. And in that moment, Ferrari's garage changed. The tension turned into awe. The penalty wasn't a setback anymore, it was fuel. Within laps, he was cutting through the midfield with surgical precision. Hulkenberg, Zhou, Lawson, gone. Each move looked effortless, but everyone was a calculation, the right moment, the right gear, the right corner. No wasted movement, no locked brakes, no desperation. Just clean, efficient, devastating speed. By lap 35, telemetry told a story that bordered on unbelievable. His rear tire, where the Achilles heel of the SF-25 all season was lower than Leclerc's. His brake temperatures, once critical, were stable. His ERS deployment flawless. The Ferrari engineers couldn't understand it. "He's rewritten our degradation model," said one of them. He's doing with feel what the computer says isn't possible. And that's the truth about Lewis Hamilton. His genius doesn't come from rebellion against technology. It comes from understanding it better than anyone else. Where other drivers see numbers, he feels the story behind them. When Ferrari systems predicted thermal runaway, Hamilton predicted balance. When their data screamed for caution, he found control. He wasn't fighting the car, he was teaching it how to survive. Lap after lap, his pace grew sharper. He's matching the front runners, said Croft in disbelief. Older tires, heavy traffic, and still half a second faster through Sector 1. By lap 45, Hamilton had clawed his way back to ninth, and Ferrari's pit wall had gone silent, the kind of silence that means reverence. They weren't watching a race anymore. They were watching mastery. The camera cut to the garage Vasseur staring at the screen, shaking his head slowly. He's doing things this car shouldn't do, he said. Around him, engineers nodded, speechless. Because this wasn't just damage control. This was transformation. Hamilton had turned a flawed, overheating machine into a balanced, obedient tool of performance not through luck, but through intellect. By lap 50, his rhythm was perfect. Every corner, every shift, every input measured like an algorithm in motion. When he finally passed Russell's Mercedes, it felt poetic, the student beating the system, the craftsman beating the machinery. His radio message was simple, understated. "Nice work, Lewis," said Adami. "Copy," Hamilton replied. Just that. No celebration. No ego. Because for him, excellence isn't an outburst. It's a standard. Inside the Ferrari garage, someone whispered, "This is why you sign a 7-time world champion." They were right. The FIA could take away 10 seconds, but they couldn't touch the thing that makes Hamilton extraordinary, his ability to make perfection out of punishment.